I guess my question for you this week is, who are you going to be rooting for? The Besaid Aurochs or the Luca Goers?
Who?
Hello everybody, and welcome to andMirth. We're back again this week to do a few too many takes of this video, wake up with a hangover, and drink and talk about board games. If you haven't been with us before, and this is your first time, we're working our way through the Savoy Cocktail book from A to Z. It's about 750 cocktails, and we hope to make it through before we die. Why don't we get going? Anthony, what do you have?
Well, I thought we'd start with talking a little bit about ourselves. We mentioned a lot about Mr. Savoy and his cocktail book last week, so I thought I'd let people know how we met. We met in school studying theater, but since then have lived together, we've laughed together, we've loved together. We've done so much of our life together. It's 10 years now going on. But we decided this was a great opportunity to sort of combine our love of theater as well as our love of board games and our ability to learn about cocktails. So I guess really we should go from there and move into the episode. What are we doing this week, Matt?
So this week we played the board game Azul. I'm sure you remember doing so. And we'll be working our way through the Affinity, the After Dinner, and the After Dinner Special Cocktail. So get us started with the Affinity.
For our first cocktail, the Affinity Cocktail, we'll begin by pouring 1 ounce of French vermouth, 1 ounce of Italian vermouth, 1 ounce of Scotch whiskey, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. You're going to stir and strain that into a cocktail glass, after which you'll express a lemon peel over top. And you should end up with something like this. Wow, that's actually quite enjoyable. I'm thoroughly surprised. I'm usually not a fan of whiskey, but I think the combination of the two vermouths with the whiskey really worked out. It's the smoky that I usually would think I don't like because of the whiskey is sort of balanced by that sweetness of the vermouth. And that dry vermouth sort of opens up the whole palate for that like lemon. So that I could drink that. But what about you?
Totally. I would drink a lot of this, actually. The smokiness of the whiskey, as you said, I've got a blended scotch in here, which is just really nice. The freshness of the lemon sort of offsets how smoky it is, and then I'm getting a lot of really cocoa and caramel flavors that I find quite nice. I very much enjoy this drink. So on to Azul. Azul is a 2 to 4 player, or as the publishers Plan B would like you to believe, a 2 to 4 artisan game. It's ages 8+. You can get it at most of your local board game stores or at an online retailer. Retailer is the word I was looking for. If you like games about luck and strategy, or if you like to anger your siblings by hoarding tiles and being devious, this game's for you.
I mean, all true. I don't think you need to be related for this game to be for you. We found plenty of opportunities to hoard tiles and screw each other over with our game strategy. So, but it was nice. It was a surprisingly strategic required game that was still very beautiful and artfully done and tactily very satisfying if you've ever played it in hand. We played it digitally here, but the tiles are very pretty. All of it is a very lovely game. We found a way to make it pretty intense.
When we played it for the filming of this episode, it definitely was the most tense game of Azul we have ever played. And I think we all sort of recognize that. And it's not usually like that. I find that we usually actually have a really good relaxing time playing it. But I think the stress is on because of our little banter last week. This scotch has got me feeling things already, so we should probably hurry this along. What's our second drink, Anthony?
Fair enough. For our second drink, we have the After Dinner Cocktail. For this cocktail, you'll want to mix 1.5 ounces of Prunell brandy, or a plum brandy substitute, 1.5 ounces of cherry brandy, 4 dashes of lemon juice, which you'll shake well and strain into a sherry glass, getting you a cocktail that looks like this. Oh, that was not good at all. Wow. So something I mentioned while describing the drink was that you could use a prunelle or a plum brandy. The reason you would use a plum brandy, oh god, it was so bad, is because prunelle doesn't exist anymore. I found a substitute in Slivovich. I couldn't tell you how to pronounce it, but it's written down here, I'm sure somewhere. It is a plum brandy that people said would be a good alternative. I don't have anything good to say about that. That was not tasty. I don't even know what flavors I'm supposed to taste. I'm sort of upset that we're going to have to drink more of this. I don't know. You didn't seem to enjoy it either, Matt.
I can taste all of the parts separately and together and apart, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't leave a particularly lovely flavor in my mouth afterwards. I don't enjoy it. It's too tart, it's too sour, it doesn't have... I don't really like it very much.
There's a much more eloquent way to put what I said, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's sip on this. Let me tell you a little bit about Azul's rules. So, for Azul, it is a game of picking up and placing like-colored tiles to score points. The game separates itself into 2 phases per round. During the first phase, artisans take turns collecting tiles from the factories or from the pool in the center of the table. Once all the tiles have been collected, we move into phase 2, placing the tiles. Here, artisans with completed pattern lines will move their tiles onto their wall, scoring them points. These phases repeat until all tiles have been claimed. Bonus points are given for completing rows, columns, and completing a full set of one color. The artisan with the most points wins.
Oh, that is truly terrible. Right. You mentioned taking tiles from the factories, but one of the important things to note is that when pulling from the factories, you'll see there's a lot of colorful mosaics available, or colorful tiles available to you. You can only actually pull like tiles off of a single factory. Once you've done that, the rest of the tiles actually go into the center section, sort of like a pool of tiles available to you. At that point, you could do the same thing. You could pull from the center of the pool of like tiles, which means you could actually build up even more of a single color within those tiles. So sort of 5 tiles of the same color and complete a whole row really quickly. One of the things to note is that while that helps you complete rows and you can complete columns to get more points and all those other things you mentioned, if you are the first person to complete a horizontal row, you actually begin the end game of Azul. So you have to be a little careful because you could start the end game and then very quickly realize you might not have as many points as your neighbor. So you want to keep an eye on that sort of strategy of when is a good time to start the horizontal and really try to block others from starting their horizontal if they are scoring more than you.
Yeah, and with what you were saying about pulling from the pool in the center of the table, the first person on any given round who does that actually takes a little 1-player token, and that counts as a -1 penalty for you, but it allows you to then be the first person to pick from any of the factories on the following round for picking tiles. This sort of leads us into the concept of dropping tiles, which is where if you are unable to take a certain amount of like-colored tiles and put them on your tile grid, then it means that you have to drop those into your penalty points of dropping tiles, which starts at a -1 but quickly builds into a -2 and then a -3. So you sort of have to balance how many tiles you're taking or sort of strategize which colors you want to take so that you're not constantly dropping tiles because you'll be hurting your score more than you help it. I don't want to. I'm gonna go ahead and use my veto on this one. What about you?
Yeah, no.
Double vetoed.
No. Okay.
Yep. Bye to that one.
Thank goodness.
So, why don't we just go ahead and move forward then? What's our third cocktail this week?
Alrighty, you might recognize the name. This is actually the after dinner, but special. For the after dinner special, we'll use 1.5 ounces of apricot brandy, 1.5 ounces of curacao. You'll shake and strain those into a cocktail glass, getting you a drink that should look something like this. All right. Well, that is a welcome respite from the previous cocktail. Still pretty sweet. I think it's kind of interesting. The apricot flavor is something I really enjoy, and you really get that orange. It's kind of not that bad. I don't know how much of that I could drink, but I mean, that was pretty tasty. What do you think? You did not like that, did you?
Not that bad. The sweetness from the apricot, the sweetness from the curacao, they both combined, and it is horrible. That's a horrible cocktail. Do you remember the 90s fluoride-based like mouthwash that kids used to do to sort of get them excited about it? That's what this tastes like. This tastes like mouthwash, and it's foul. This is not for me. Not at all.
I mean, maybe a little club soda would make it taste better, but I don't think it's unredeemable.
You know what is redeemable, though? My score, because your partner won yet again. However, as previously discussed in our accord, whenever it is a weekend of an odd month on a third Saturday of the week, that means that I win. So, hey, 1-1, you and me. Congrats.
I don't think I appreciate your math. There's some funky cross multiplying going on, and I don't think that is how that works out. I thought I explained this pretty clearly. I'm pretty sure this is my victory. Regardless, I think what's important to note is how she won rather handily. In fact, I think we discussed how tense this game was and how we were all actually really gunning for a victory here. We all wanted it pretty bad, so that's why I'm going to take this win. But anywho, one of the things was that we definitely learned more about the strategy of this game. I think this game employs a lot more strategy than some of the other games we play, especially against each other. So that was, sort of an avenue for us to be a lot more competitive.
While the strategy is a really big part of it, I think that luck and Southern grace also come to be a really big part of it. As an anecdote, one of the first times I played this with my mom and my sister and my partner, she was sort of just picking up tiles and placing them and being really nice and being really lovely. She wasn't trying to like steal tiles from anybody. And I want to say that she destroyed us by like 50 points or something like that. And it was just this handy defeat. And she was like, "Oh, did I win?" And it was just so sweet and so catty all at the same time. It was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful win. I think that's it for this week because I'm refusing to drink any more of that. And as the host this week, I'm calling it. So, we're done here. Before we end it, I would like to just make one correction from our first week. And it is in the fact that I said that the Savoy Cocktail book was sort of based on the Savoy Cocktail menu, Hotel's cocktail menu, which is not really true. It's actually a collection of basically all of the cocktails that Harry Craddock could get his hands on. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and that we were going to be able to heal together and that we can move forward with our journey together. Much love.
Thank you, Matt. If you enjoyed what you saw, join us next week as we go through another board game and 3 more cocktails. As always, please let us know if there's anything we can do to improve, anything you think that we should correct, or anything like that. We want to grow. We want to learn more about cocktails and board games, and we need your help.
Like, comment, subscribe if you like what we're doing. Okay, but really though, did you not get it earlier? That's a Final Fantasy X thing. Blitzball is the game.
I was more of a
that's
7
in
guy
Final
myself,
Fantasy.
and I don't know.